Happy holidays from the Badass Records podcast.
Okay, yay. So episode 97, Badass Records podcast. Pulp Fiction, Jackrabbit Slims, the burger joint with the $5 shake, and the dance contest. Do you remember how Uma Thurman says her name into the microphone?
I remember what it looks like.
She says, first I think she says his name first, Vincent Vega. And then she goes, "This is Mia Wallace." So I'm wondering if you could do your Mia Wallace voice, but saying your own name.
Peregrine Honig.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. This is great. And a funny little story before we get going. You actually just walked past a shelf in the garage where I have a big stash of New Yorker magazine because a subscription to it was required for a course I took in grad school, and then I loved it, so I hung on to it for a while. And what's his name? The guy from Lawrence. Was it William S. Burroughs?
Killed his wife. That was that action. Nice.
Yeah, but he used to take lines from pieces of literature, like peel this line here from this article and then this here, and then make it his own sentence. And I was like, I'm going to do something like that. So I saved all of these New Yorkers from 2008 through, 2010. It's a lot. And I'm still going to do it at some point. But some of them are in a crate and some of them are on that shelf. And on the shelf, I keep coffee beans. And I got sent the wrong kind of coffee beans last week, and I was like, well, I'll just get a replacement for the one that I normally get, but I'll keep these. But where am I going to find this? Everything's real tight right in that space. And so I went out there to figure it out, and I'm moving things around, and I pull out this copy of New Letters.
Oh, I'm in that.
And I say to myself, what are you doing outside of your home, the New Letters portion of my shelf? And I was like, how weird. And I look at the back, and sure as shit, you're in it. And I was like, what is happening right now? Peregrine Honig.
Yeah.
Paintings and texts, the birds, Peregrine Honig, who is the youngest artist in the permanent collection of the Whitney Museum of American Art, sculptures, imagery, and texts explore themes of sexual vulnerability, trends in disease, and social hierarchies.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. All the rest of it is fascinating too, and the artwork, of course, is beautiful. But so I went to UMKC for grad school, and it was a creative writing master's, and I was taking classes with Bob Stewart. Magazine editing, to be specific, and he made all of us. We had to create. We got put into teams. We had to create a prototype of a magazine with articles and photos and ads, and the cover or the whole thing. And he also made each student. You had to either volunteer or intern with New Letters or intern with New Letters on the Air, the radio print. That was where I wound up, was New Letters on the Air, working with Angela. But I still loved as an aspiring writer, the idea of New Letters, the publication.
I think that one's owned by Hallmark.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The morning bird forgets her nest, and clearly you can guess the rest. Yeah.
So while I was there, it was only a 2-year program. New Letters was on my radar.
Yeah.
and then I got a subscription to it and kept that. I probably pulled the plug on it and the New Yorker at the same time. But seriously, like, this had to have gotten out of its spot in my old home, like 11 or whatever, however many years ago it was. And so just literally a week ago, moving around these bags of coffee beans, I'm like, what is this thing that is a different shape? And you're in it. Pretty crazy. But nevertheless, thank you so much for being here.
Totally.
The lovely Patrick Spray did an episode with me, Center Cut Records, and I was telling last week's guest this same thing. At some point, I don't know when, in our conversation, he was like, here's a couple people that you should reach out to. And he listed a couple names, and I was like, I grabbed my pen and wrote down one. Oh, no, a second one, and go to put it down, and a third, fourth. And he gave me like, I don't know, 25 names. And in the back of my mind, it's like, at some point I got to start reaching out to these folks, which didn't happen for a while. And I've only sat down to do it like twice. And, I made it this far and then this far. And I think you were in the this far portion of it. So that's how I knew who you were. And
Cool.
here we are. We made it happen.
Yeah.
So again, thank you very much for being here. You're an artist.
So I'm told.
I think many places tell the rest of us the same. I don't know if that's because you're telling those places to tell us that, or the places believe that. But nevertheless, super cool. Super cool. You have a website
I do.
and a wiki.
I do.
And what else did I see? The Nevica Project?
Oh, yeah, my dealer in Chicago, the Navika Project.
Navika, excuse me. Okay, so
Jason Loffer.
what does a dealer, what does that mean?
So your art dealer helps you sell your work and helps you get connected to collectors and museums. And generally, they take 50% of the sales of your work.
Nikes. Okay.
Yeah. It's important information when people see something that's selling for a certain quantity of money to understand that there's like this crazy village that goes into art.
Wow.
Whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Website, wiki, your stuff is on the Navika Project page.
Yeah. I mean, I have currently my work that I have my first like solo show of new work up at Studios Inc., which is like a residency for mid-career artists. And so that is up through December 23rd. And it's 7 like 6 by 8 1/8 foot paintings.
Wow.
Yeah, they're big.
Studio Zinc,
Studios Inc., 1708 Campbell.
1708 Campbell, downtown KC,
Mm-hmm.
through December 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
And what were the size dimensions again?
They are 6 by 8 1/8 foot.
Okay.
And they are at a 15-degree angle from the wall. They're on these wooden cleats.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you said that. The only other space I was going to mention where some of your stuff can be seen is your Instagram page.
I also have work at Blue Gallery. I have work in Boston. I'm in the New York Public Library, and then in the Milwaukee Museum of Art has my archive, and then the Nelson Atkins Museum also has my archive. So the Milwaukee Museum of Art has my print archive, like all of my pieces from Landfall Press, and then like the plates and the early sort of layers to those pieces. And then the Nelson Atkins Museum has my archive of articles and photos and T-shirts and album covers and some
Cool.
of the stuff that I've been producing over the past 20 years.
I'm glad you said layers, because every layer is a player has
That's
been
true.
the hashtag or the
Hashtag.
association with the current show.
Yes.
Studios Inc. 1708
08.
Campbell
Uh-huh.
through December 23rd.
Yeah.
And can folks just, I mean, are there hours? Like, what is the process for one to go see this stuff?
So what I did was I have the smaller work at Blue Gallery also open through the 23rd. And the bigger work is at Studios Inc. It's kind of like, I know that Studios Inc. is like 10 to 4, but it's kind of like Thursdays are great because both spaces are open.
Are they neighbors, Blue Gallery?
They're
and
close.
Okay.
They're not, I mean, it's like a 5-minute drive.
Okay.
So I've set up the show with Kelly Kuhn so that both walls are the same color. There's kind of a similar immersion feel to both the smaller work and the bigger work. And the smaller work, I've named them Casting Call and Understudies and Auditions. So the final pieces feel like theater or like lost operas, and the other work has all led up to those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of time from inception to the show opening was this? Was your output, and thinking and creativity and all that?
My whole life.
No way.
I mean, labor, like body to canvas. I've had the Studios Inc. for, I'm about 2 years into a 4-year residency. And so physically 2 years, but the concept specifically to these pieces were a print that I did with Lawrence Lithography with Mike Sims, that I completed in 2006. But the earlier pieces from those, Bob Carlson he's passed, but I showed those with Byron Cohen, or like 1998-ish.
Okay. And I don't mean to sound boorish or like an idiot, but this is like a world that I've only, peeked into once or twice in my life. Is this having a show like this in not only one but two spaces for, a period of time? Is this a thing where you're like, this is a thing I want to do, and so I'm going to set out to do it, or does somebody approach you, or is it collaborative, or?
So the residency, you apply for the residency.
Okay. And
I've shown with Kelly for about 8, 9, maybe 10 years now.
Okay.
It's been a while. And she's just very like intuitive, and she's very friendly. Like, she's very professional, and we have a very good dynamic. Just, I trust her to sell my work and just get it from point A to point B in a safe space. And
that was my next question.
Half the battle.
If you have these pieces elsewhere in the country, how do they arrive? How do they get from point A to point B?
In crates.
Okay.
Depending on the piece.
Sure.
Like, I printed a piece 5 months ago, and it costs more to ship it than to print it. Wow. Like, it can be, I don't think, again, like what I said earlier, people, what goes into selling a piece of artwork or placing a piece of artwork, or just the politics of it is, it's very complicated, and honestly, it can be exhausting.
I bet.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the shipping expense. Is that a thing that you also, on top of that, insure?
So the gallery is usually, the cost of creating and shipping work is on the shoulders of the buyer.
Okay.
But then your art dealer will insure your work and make sure that it's installed and make sure that depending on like these 7 paintings, I'm wanting them to go somewhere together. So that's a big ask.
Okay.
And I don't really want them to go to a conventional place. Like I'm hoping that, well, I'm working, I'm not hoping, into like a hospital or into like a factory in Detroit. Like, so maybe a place with like a rehabilitation house.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So these pieces that are like in New York, for example, that's their home. They stay there because somebody purchased them.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking, if you sometimes when you're walking around the Nelson, here's the little thing about the piece and the art, and then it's like on loan from.
Well, that's true too. Yeah.
So places will temporarily trade stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But some stuff that museum owns it because they paid the artist.
Correct.
And now it's there. Okay.
Yeah, like one of the most borrowed pieces of the Nelson is that Peel piece, the woman that's kind of like holding up the scarf. So that's like the most borrowed painting that the Nelson owns. And so it's like included in, it's like an example of, it's got a great narrative. It was a great artist who was the son of another artist. So like, yeah. Like there are even performances that are owned by collectors. Like there's performances that are like a collector will purchase an installed performance. And then when that piece is put into a group show, it'll be from the collection of blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Now, the things that are on display at your solo show right now through the 23rd, are they all thematically interwoven? Okay.
Yeah.
And is it okay to ask for you to talk a little bit about what some of those themes are, or would you rather the viewer decide that for themselves when they go see?
I know how what I wanted them to turn out to be, and they were not cooperative. So I'm learning from the people who see them what they're about as much as what I think they are about. Like I can't argue what my paintings evoke another.
Did I hear you correctly when you said you knew what you wanted them to be, but they were non-cooperative? The pieces. I love that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't get upset with that, do you, or do you?
It's emotionally exhausting to make artwork.
Okay.
And it can be as frustrating to have an immediately gratifying image as it is to have something that just battles you to your bones. It's just, art's not going to it doesn't cure cancer. Like there's
right.
not, there's like the same, sort of like science, religion, art, like everybody kind of has to have some sort of faith in it for it to work.
Okay.
out.
Yeah. And so, is there a visual, okay. So materially speaking, the pieces that are on display right now,
Yeah.
similarity across the pieces there as well in terms of material.
So I really make my work based on what it needs to be made out of.
Okay.
So some of my work can appear to be these very delicate drawings. Some of my work are these really large photographs. Some of my work are sculptures. These are oil paintings because I knew they needed to be oil paintings.
Okay.
To come across the way I wanted them to come across.
Okay. Wow. And then thematic. Okay. So you knew what you wanted them to be, but they were non-cooperative. I mean, so thematically, one person might see stuff differently than the other, and then of course it could be different for you as well.
Well, the same person can see something different from moment to moment when they're looking at something.
So you landed in Kansas City by way of San Francisco to go to
KCI,
the Art Institute, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
the big giant piece along the wall where my puppy's crate is part of a series of three from a buddy who also went to the art. I had 3 buddies out of high school that all went to the Art Institute. Only the one who did that work stayed long enough for a degree. The others pivoted and did other things. But such an interesting place to me, because prior to that, I didn't even know it existed. And it was like, you're going, everybody's like, KU, K-State, wherever you say you're going. And then it's like, going to the Art Institute. Where's that? It's right over there. Oh my gosh. And so 2 from my high school, and then the one whose work is up there moved here from Colorado to do that, which still, I mean, it's surprising to me that that I didn't know it existed for the longest time, and then that folks from elsewhere in the country are aware of it and interested in attending it.
It's like top 3.
Okay.
Yeah, like
really?
The foundation program is just phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at what point are you born in all the way through 18 in San Francisco?
I went to the Art Institute when I was 17.
17. Okay. Okay. But born and raised out there and then come here at 17. And at what age were you like, that's where I'm going, or that's where I would like to go?
16.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. There were a lot of schools that were courting me. And I had studied under Ruth Osawa, who is a very amazing sculptor in San Francisco. And so she helped me immensely, and took no shit from me, saw that I had potential, and then just I really didn't have a lot of did not give me wiggle room, which I'm so grateful for. So yeah, Ruth Osawa, actually the high school that I went to, because I went to an art high school, they changed the name of my high school to the Ruth Osawa School of the Arts.
Oh wow, yeah. Cool.
But she was an amazing mentor. She took me off campus to draw from the figure, which probably would not happen now.
Draw from the figure.
Draw from the human body.
Okay, I thought that's what you meant.
And so, just a total walk the space between fine art and public work, and well-spoken, and had been in a Japanese internment camp. So,
whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So just had a very no time wasting perspective on things. So I went to that high school, and then a lot of the schools that I was Boston Museum School, Rhode Island School of Design, Cooper Union, RISD, just a lot of those schools were sort of geared towards making these statistics about how many people in their school got jobs when they got out. And I was kind of already in the hustle. I'd figured out how to make some kind of income doing stuff like murals. And
before you're done with high school.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then, I got to KC. I graduated a couple of years ago because I started getting these opportunities through different art buyers and collectors, and I realized if I didn't really focus on this group of people that I wasn't going to get these opportunities I seemed to be coming my way. And I'm really glad that I stepped away from. I failed history of unions in America, but everything else A's and B's. Mostly A's. And then when I went back to school, Frank Weaver, who's who's a dear, dear friend, but also collects my work, was you really need to finish college. And I kind of thought I was a badass because I got into these museums and I didn't have a degree. But I graduated right before the pandemic. Western attitudes towards death and dying right before the pandemic. and the history of the Bauhaus. So those are the 2 classes I had to take. I took them. I got A's, and I am really happy that it brought me joy and got me past some weird, I don't know, psychological glitches in the universe. I don't know. And then
to finish that degree?
To finish the degree. And then, of course, no, you're not going to walk across the stage during a pandemic. So,
oh, right.
Yeah, but I have my degree. And
but that's some closure, some accomplishment, some validation. Now, why do you think he felt that way and shared that with you?
I don't know, but I'm glad that I listened to him, and you learn really differently in different points of your life, right?
Absolutely.
When you're 17 and you're just that's really different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There wasn't internet.
I know.
Yeah. So I took a class from Jordan Stempelman, and I couldn't figure out why no, it was Aaron Dahl first. I couldn't figure out why everybody else knew what was going on and I did not. And it was because they had school emails, and I did not know that I had a school email where all the information was going. And so I then signed up for the school email that existed under my name. And then I started getting the assignments. But the first couple of classes, I was completely why does everybody know to read this? Wow. This is crazy.
Yeah. Welcome back to school.
Yeah. Welcome
Don't I
back
feel
to
dumb?
the internet. Welcome to the internet.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I love that for you and those experiences, and actually answers my next question, which was, so you come here from San Francisco, do school, and then decide to stay. Why is that? But opportunities were cropping up.
I also, my parents were renters, and so I knew how much rent was. And San Francisco, I found a 5,000 square foot space in Kansas City for $500 a month.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I got the Avenue of the Arts. I got the Charlotte Street Fund. So I had a lot of support. And the work that I was doing was just very much on point with the art world at that time, just naturally. And the older teachers were sort of hey, we've got one who can draw. We've got an artist. A validation. And my friend David Ford has always said New York is a great place to be an artist, and Kansas City is a great place to make art.
Cool.
And my family is from New York.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I've spent a lot of time in New York. I would work for my great uncle, packing up china and doing catalog work. And so I just didn't really want to go to college there on the East Coast.
Because?
I knew that I would just really get distracted. And I still don't really feel cool enough to be in New York. New York is great, but you have to be really cool.
I mean, don't you arrive with an edge on most folks based on your name alone?
No, not really. It's not an easy city for me to relax in. It's so unbelievably beautiful, and there's so much cool stuff to look at.
Yeah.
Food and walking around is awesome. I never quite feel I don't know. I don't know. I love New Orleans.
Okay.
I mean, I'm back and forth from New Orleans. I like what's cool there better than anything. Just the way that art and music and food and costuming kind of just grunt together in this weird way.
Yeah.
It's not overwhelming to me. And
New Orleans is not overwhelming to you.
No, but New York. I mean, it's just, I see it's the same thing. I was recently in Paris with my business partner for birdies. And it's sort of like it's just like so much stuff that's beautiful and incredible to look at. It can just be very like, not overstimulating. It's just like, I don't know, like it's, when I'm in New Orleans, I just feel there's just this like fluidity and there's just like a different attitude. I guess there's like more of a respect or just a different attitude towards mortality.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I think I'll probably end up in New Orleans. Like, I imagine myself like an old woman in New Orleans more than an old woman in Kansas City.
With a porch?
Yeah, with a porch.
And a good set of pipes so you can say some shit to somebody walking by?
Like, just throw rocks.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I have, well, prior to a month or so ago, I had only been in New York once, and it was not until 2017, and I was really just there for a handful of days to see some shows. But I went in October to do one of these, and it was completely bananas just in the fact that I entered the day with like 2 hours of sleep, 7 a.m. flight to JFK, Ubered to this guy's tattoo parlor, set up all the gear, recorded him, broke it all down, Ubered back, and was, back in Kansas City by 9 p.m.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still, like, I'm still, little corners are processing, and it's kind of like, that was, like, I'm glad that, I didn't die, and that it all worked, out, but also, I was really glad to get out of there. Like, it just felt, I don't know, and I still say it's a t-shirt, but I've seen it as a meme, and my favorite New York meme or t-shirt is the list of things to do in New York. Number 1, leave. Silly, but it makes me giggle every time.
Yeah.
So you have 2 siblings?
3.
3.
Yeah.
And where are you in the?
I called my dad to tell him that my mom, his ex-wife, was pregnant when I was like 9-ish, like 9.5 years old. And he was really quiet because my stepmother was also pregnant. So I was an only child, and then in a 6-week period, I got 2 sisters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my youngest sister is 14 years younger than me.
Okay. 4 girls.
Yeah.
All right. And how did mom and dad meet? Do you know?
My mom and dad and uncle were friends, I think, in high school in New Jersey. And then my, I don't know the exact timeline, but they did not stay married very long.
Okay.
And then my mom married my stepfather, who's also like a New Yorker, middle child, same sign. And but I kind of like look like my stepfather. Like, he had a type like, middle children, Jewish men from New York. And then my mother and my stepmother are both like blondes. So even though my 3 sisters, like, they're all my half sisters, we all kind of have a look not that dissimilar because kind of similar genetic.
Sure. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. That's hilarious and awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, but for you, bio mom and bio dad their thing was over and done when you were pretty little.
I'm the only child of my parents, so
Okay.
They were divorced by the time I was 3.
But okay, and then are you doing split time? Or are you with mom only or
Split.
dad? Okay.
Yeah.
And memories of either of them playing, and by playing I mean listening to music in the home. Yeah. So were they both into their own kind of thing, or some similarities, or?
My dad had more of a music thing than
Okay.
my mom. My stepdad took me to my first concert, which was Cyndi Lauper.
Nice.
Yeah. And my dad was like a Nina Simone
Okay.
jazz kind of dude.
Okay.
So, but mostly I remember like record albums. Like I remember what they look like.
Sure.
Like, cause I have a really visual way of navigating the world.
Okay.
Like I remember like Sticky Fingers,
Okay. Is that
like
the one with the
zipper and the
crotch shot?
banana? Yeah. Right.
What did you just say?
The zipper and the banana.
The
It's Andy Warhol. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
there's such a history of like artists and musicians working
Right.
together. And so, yeah, I've been making posters. My first, what was it? Ugly, so bad. Like the first album cover I made was for a band. There was a recording studio next to Walnut Laundry. And it was a band, and their hit song was "Ugly Bitches Got the Best Pussy," right?
Okay.
So I've come. I was not aware of that when I made the album cover, but that was my first album cover, and
This is in Cali.
Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
There was a band in Kansas City with that name?
no, that was their hit song.
I'm sorry. That was a
Yeah,
hit song.
that was
Okay.
their hit
Okay.
And then I did posters for Malachi Papers. Ann Winters, who ran Recycled Sons, was a big collector of my posters. So she probably had the most of my posters.
Okay.
And then Todd Diesel, who recently passed,
Okay.
he also had a big collection of my posters. Like they would come around and get them. But yeah, I've been doing like Barbès. I did Garage à Trois.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I no, like I love like accessibility of visual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great Kurt Cobain story where he had augmented that Nirvana album, the one with the woman with the invisible woman who's pregnant, the one
In utero?
yeah.
Okay.
So he did like a more modest one for Walmart.
Oh, really?
And people were like, "Oh, you're such a sellout." And
Oh
he
my
was
God.
like, "Where do you think I got my albums from as a kid?" This is a like white trash kid, like
Right?
Walmart.
Yeah.
Like, so it's interesting because it's a square, the record and the CD, and it's interesting. Like Instagram is also square. Like the things that you kind of like, you have to think about when you're doing something that's just like, you needed to just like talk about the music and catch people's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That TikToks and Instagram reels where whoever and many folks are just on the street with a mic and asking passersby a series of questions, and maybe they take the same question of all the people, and that's the content you get.
Yeah.
I would like to see somebody ask a series of like 3 questions, and the final question is, do you have any way to confirm or deny that ugly bitches do in fact have the best
Those
pussies?
right?
Yeah. Just to see what. Anyway. So, Dad's into Nina Simone kinds of stuff. Mom is less into music, but
She liked like the Pogues and like was I mean, they were both really into songwriters.
oh,
And there's always like Joni Mitchell, Joan Collins, Leonard Cohen. It was that kind of household.
okay. And then Cyndi Lauper for your first show. Do you remember
Yeah.
the venue?
Was it Zim's maybe?
Okay.
I mean, I remember exactly what it looked like. I remember what I was wearing.
Really?
Yeah, I had like a tutu on, and I was always like tearing my shirts off to let them fall off my shoulder, like even
Nice.
though I didn't have a bra or boobs, but like I just thought it was so great. And I wore like heart sunglasses, and I think my lipstick, makeup,
Okay.
teased my hair out,
Yeah.
danced in the aisle.
Now, I'm interested in this idea of the music that your folks or your caretaker, whoever you're living with,
My guardians.
Yeah, when you're young, it's you're not necessarily that aware. It's kind of like the furniture of the home.
Yeah.
And then eventually wind up leaning or pivoting, and it's sort of that first step down the path of carving out your own taste.
Yeah.
And conceptually, like, I really love the idea of the album. I know that in 2023, it's not viewed or maybe even valued the same as it once was. But I'm interested in the idea of like first album loves or first album acquisitions that, I don't know if you have one of those.
Yeah.
That not necessarily from your list, but one that is like, you bought it or you borrowed it or heard it at your friend's house and really was like, wow, this is something.
I would say the first album from stem to stern would be that Joni Mitchell Blue. That album had a profound effect on me.
Really?
And then definitely like the Trinity sessions from Cowboy Junkies. Just there were just like so many songs on it that spoke to me and the way that it sounded. I didn't know that it was recorded or I didn't know anything about anything.
Sure.
And you know, the Fugees, like that summer of just like being in love with my life in my 20s. I think just having a relationship with the memory of music. It's almost like the album itself can be trash, but if you had a good summer and you were listening to that album over and over again, it's
Sure.
like it's just a good memory.
Sure.
It's like
Now, that's another thing that I'm very fascinated by is where one is. I know life and everything's different for everybody, right?
yeah.
But being in your 20s is like, you know, I got going on, just 2 decades in the rear view for that. And it's like, it's wild because, you know, traditionally, you know, you're on your own for the first. You're trying to figure out this is adulthood,
Right.
Like, really, and so it's crazy because the rules are mostly up to you. You know, I'm within the law and you know, being respectful of others and your surroundings and that sort of thing. But it's nobody's telling you what to do anymore, and you know, that sort of thing. And I felt, and this is I'm logging many hours under hospitality industry roofs from teenage through whatever, all of my 20s, and I remember enjoying the liberty, the you know, independence of being that age, but also feeling like every person that I interact with seems like they have shit figured out, like they're grounded and they like understand, like and I did not. And I, on the outside, I was like, yeah, which I'm just like the, you know, but on the inside, I was like, sort of like not getting the emails in your class and being like, what the fuck, how? But you were enjoying and loving your life in your 20s, and so was across that decade for you. Was that pretty constant, that feeling?
Oh yeah. I mean, I like every day is that I mean, I love being alive.
Okay. And that's, you know, remarkable.
Yeah, even when it's a dark day, like
Okay.
even when there's like doubt and anxiety, it's mine.
Sure.
And being an artist or being told I'm an artist from a young, I mean, my work, it's like, you know, I've been told I'm an artist since I was like 3. Like, you know, my
You
drawings.
didn't say it first. It was said to you.
Yeah, I mean, my drawings are in like books and when I'm 3. Like I'm drawing like people like fucking and giving birth when I'm 3. Like I'm just like drawing everything that I'm thinking about. Like not everybody draws things that they're thinking about. They're like trying to draw a unicorn or like a teddy bear with hearts coming out of its fists. Like I just really was processing what I was learning while I drew. And so I've just like had that. It's kind of like having a very volatile friend, like that's never going to go away. You don't really want it to go away, but I mean, I've been told that based on what I started doing from a really, really early age, like when people are like, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life. It's like, I don't know what the next step is, but I have always known this one thing about me. Like I'd never thought I was a better artist.
Sure.
I just always knew that people didn't need to draw and make things the way that I did.
Okay. Now, correct me if this is, not the right assumption or leap to make, but is it possible that knowing that from a very young age then sort of made the foundation for you to be loving your life in your 20s?
Or hating it.
Or hating it.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, it's not, nothing's easy. And I'm definitely not like a particularly grounded person. Like I'm not great with numbers, or I'm on time, but it's like, it's not, like it's always like grass is always greener.
Sure.
Right. Like
Yeah.
my friends were like, oh, like I bought this house in my 20s as a fixer upper. And then now I did this. And like, we have this savings and we're going to go. I mean, I don't necessarily want to do what other people want to do, but I do envy people their stability.
Mm.
And I'm married to a musician. So it's not, you're always kind of having to like wear lots of hats.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, so like Jerry Salter says, like art is the ability to turn material into thought. Like where's the manual on turning material into thought,
In here somewhere.
Yeah, right. Or out there or
Right.
in there. Like I see my husband like making new music and writing new songs and recording them, and like it's just like this really perpetually intimate and vulnerable act.
Perpetual and vulnerable. Yikes. That is, yes.
So if you're like, like what people like kill themselves, like or do something where they end their own life, and it's easy to get into the romance of addiction. I mean, it's like really because like it's the stereotype of the artist like being flaky and reliant on drinking or drugs, and like that level of escapism is very like present. Like it's like a very much an environment where there's going to be booze and coke and pills and weed, and like if you're inclined towards any of those things, this is like you just have to fight a little bit harder. Like if you're going to go work in an office job, it's not going to be like 2:00, like, hey, anybody need a beer?
Anybody
like,
want to do a bump? I'm about to go take a shit.
Yeah, right. It's just not like that.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know what, but
Girl down the hall keeps getting mad when I grab her ass when I walk past.
Yeah.
And tell her to.
well, that's part of like what is being like revealed in the art world too. It's like also this thing where, and it's really no different right now where like you see like these very weird dynamics where the gallerist's job used to be to keep people from seeing artwork unless they intended to buy it. And I was like, Ferns Friday, you show your work at Ferns Friday, and you're like, I don't know, it's such a.
Why are you making my exhibit sound like Taco fucking Tuesday, bro?
Right. Or like, why is it my job to be like creating these images for the Board of Tourism, but we're not seeing any of it come. Like art itself is an $800 billion industry. It's nearly $1 trillion industry. Like art makes more money than sports. Okay. If you think about it.
Really?
Music.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Concerts, dance, like
Book writing.
blah, blah, blah.
Theater.
Who gets we just need to work a little bit into this. And I can't deny capitalism. I was like raised in a capitalist society. This is a capitalist society. I'm not gonna like resist capitalism. It's like, why don't I just like throw my head against the wall? But like these people who are just like holding the keys to the gate, like they could just like do better.
when do you think that pivot happened to where it used to be you get to see the stuff if you're planning on?
The 80s, like I see it with, when you go to Art Basel or the Venice Biennale and you see that it just like takes so much money to import, export art. And so then it becomes like a smaller and smaller group of people that get to see it and get to show it. And that is like, I mean, it's sort of like, people used to really get paid to record an album.
Right.
It's not really any different. Like,
Right.
It's like, it used to be like, I remember reading that story, like that, it was the biography. It was about the Police, and the Police had kind of like zoned in on swag. So like, and it was before kids had credit cards. So they would like be getting off these private airplanes with like garbage bags full of cash from like lighters and T-shirts and.
Are we talking Sting and Stuart Copeland and they're slinging their own merch?
Yeah. Before debit cards, trash bags full of cash.
That's awesome.
Right? But there also used to be, there used to be like money set aside for musicians to like hang out and eat pizza and record an album and like get into the album and make the album. And now there just isn't that. There's just such a thing about syndication and popularity that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with quality or new music or live music.
Integrity.
Well, definitely not integrity. I mean, capitalism is not built on integrity. It's not.
Right.
Like really, it's not. It's based on something entirely different.
Sure.
And I got into this like kind of top of the food chain really quickly because this person had the key to this place and this person had the key to this place. And,
Yeah. You mentioned a second ago, friends that are whatever, like, bought this place as a fixer upper and so on and so forth. Are you a person that has, friends from all of your pockets? Like, do you still have, San Francisco friends and college friends and friends from,
Yeah. I mean, I have friends from middle school.
Okay.
I'm a friend's friend.
Cool.
Yeah. I just talked to my friend Akenna yesterday. We've been friends since we were like 11.
Nice.
Yeah. And she's a radio journalist. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In San Francisco. And yeah, my high school ended up kind of moving out of a bigger, violent high school and into this kind of small school near San Francisco State. And it ended up being like mostly women, mostly girls.
Really?
Yeah, it was like very small. It felt kind of like a private school for like my last 2 years of school. And then like I had a pretend sorority that I made up in college. It was called Theta Alpha Omega. It was really funny. And they were like,
and how many members did your charter have?
We made people are not pleased with our conceptual sorority.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not well received. But mostly because instead of courting the young women who came into the Art Institute that would fit the stereotype of being sorority girls, we went more inclined towards like the weirdos.
A lot of goths.
No, it wasn't really. There was more like this scene of like, I would say Muppety colored jackets and like piercings and bright colors, more like rave. And yeah, it wasn't much of a goth
Okay.
scene.
I see.
Yeah.
Are you a stand-up comedy fan at all?
If looking at Instagram and laughing in public is a fan of stand-up comedy because I'm standing up and laughing, then yes.
Do you Jim Gaffigan?
Yes.
He's got a great little, it's an older bit, but it's a great little bit about when you suddenly find yourself in a situation where you have to merged two friend groups.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, you just kind of have to run in and say something last second. Hey, don't say anything about the costume. Oh, and these people think I don't drink. So here we are. Do you ever find yourself in that situation where you have folks from different friend pockets, and here we all are together, and
I think that's my job.
Okay.
to bring those people together.
I was wondering, yeah.
There's this really, really, I love jokes where both people are both sides of the joke is whatever a visual comes to your mind. There's this joke like, what's the difference between like a goth girl and a goth boy? And it's 70 pounds.
Oh.
And it's funny because it's just like, it can go on either side.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Funny. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I love that. Like last night I had dinner 2 nights ago at Room 39 with Huck, who owns a press and is an artist in St. Louis, and this other man named Tom, who is I'm
sorry. Did you just say Tom and Huck from St. Louis?
Tom Huck.
Oh, same person. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So there are 2 Toms at the table.
Okay.
And one of them, I mean, is like an amazing. He's amazing. He's like a writer and an art collector, and Tom Huck is just like this. He's like I don't know. I mean, it's like, who's the guy? Yosemite Sam.
My biscuits are burning.
Yeah, he's like that. He's very much like that guy. And we were brought together, Tom Huck and I, by Jack Lemmon at Landfall Press. And there's this project called the Landfall Legacy Project that's about to start up, and we're sort of leading it. And that's what's great about like artists is just like, some of them are from generational wealth, and some of them are deeply impoverished, and some of them are just suburban, like silver spoon in their mouth kids. Some of them are like, there's just, it's such a funny population.
There's that job of yours constantly.
Gluing. Like artists kind of glue people together. You know?
Are you a wood glue kind of a girl, or Elmer's school glue? No.
Rubber cement, I think.
Hey, all right.
Yeah. Flexible.
Yeah. How did you and your husband meet, and how long have you guys been married?
Oh dear. How did we meet, and how long have we been married? So I was seeing a violinist named Christine Brebs. I was like so in love with her, and we went to go meet her friends, her college friends, and there was this band, the Hairy Apes BMX, and they were headed in that direction. And so we got in this van full of musicians, and Mike was eating raisins and had this like weird hair. He was like, I would find out later, he was like going through withdrawal. I think it was like 1996 or something like that. And he was kind of like dressed in that Seattle like thermals and Vans and like shorts and a dirty shirt. And I was like, gross.
The raisins were the gross part, right?
Yeah. Well, I laughed because like we just moved, and I was just like, I would keep thinking there was like a bug or an ink spot or something, and it was always like a raisin. Like he's just like he eats cashews and raisins all the time. He's very healthy person, and is sober.
Right.
And thank God for, the program, because it's definitely saved a lot of lives, extended many and saved many. And then we went, Mike and Mark and I, we went on a road trip to Chicago, and like Mike was all worked up and like being very brazen, and I ended up falling in love with Mark Sutherland, and we were married for 10 years. Mike stood at our wedding.
He did what at your wedding?
He stood at our wedding.
Okay.
Mike Dillon stood at our wedding. It's probably the only time I have ever seen the man in a tuxedo. And
stood, does that mean part of the wedding part? Okay. Okay.
And
just picturing like all the guests, everybody's seated except him.
No, he was, that would have not been an uncommon thing to imagine, is him standing while everybody else sat, because that's his nature. But they were in a band together. And so he was married and I was married, and there was like nothing between us. I mean, we would.
You both were married.
Yeah. And
Okay.
he would like go on these, we would go on these like we would be in like Berlin, or we would be in Paris, just walking around, and we had a more similar pace, and we would just talk about things. And his mother is a teacher, and he's very well read. So I really enjoyed talking to him and getting to know him. I did some album covers for him. We once got into a screaming fight over a deadline, and then I was kind of over it, but he was over it too. It was just funny that we didn't really care, but other people cared more than we did.
You once got into a screaming fight over what?
A deadline.
Deadline. Gotcha.
Before anything, right? And then I divorced.
I thought you said red line. I was
deadline.
Like, that's some
No,
artist
deadline.
shit I
no,
don't
no,
understand.
No, it's not a secret. I'm not being secretive. And then I divorced my husband, and he very politely and not in a gross way was kind of checking on me, right? And I think because I had known him for so long, he was like, "How are you doing? How are you holding up?" And I was like, "I'm not." Right? So everybody else, kind of like what you just said before, you're kind of have to like pretend like everything is hunky-dory, because you are your own everything. And then he had broken up with his girlfriend of a very long time, and he came to Kansas City.
Okay.
And what's that song? Let's Get It On came on Spotify. And then we hooked up that night, and then we got married 5 months later.
Okay. And that was how long ago?
Well, it'll be 6 years in January.
Okay.
And his proposal was pretty great. He was, because I think because he had gotten older and like he had gray hair, and he's just kind of a beautiful, like a conventionally handsome man, and a handful. He was like, we woke up and we just kind of fell into a natural like rhythm together. Like we lived very easily together.
Okay.
And also I'm not a restful sleeper. And I like woke up in his arms like the first night. Like he had held me all night. Like, so for me, that was just like a really weird thing. And I kind of fell in love with him like overnight in a weird way. And so I just kind of left him in my bed. I was like, I have to go get my groceries. And I left my dog. I was like, can you walk the dog? I got to go. So I really was surprised. And he woke up and he said, he asked me if I liked him. He said, "Do you like me?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Do you love me?" And I said, "Yes." And he asked me if I was going to change him. And I said, "I don't have the time to change anybody, especially not you." And he said, "Well, I like you and I love you. So let's go do this before we're not sure." Right? So that we got married the next day. We didn't tell anybody.
Are you going to change me, as opposed to, are you going to try to change me?
Right. Are you going to try and change me?
Oh, okay. Same. All right.
Yeah.
And
are you going to try and change me?
Were you confident in your answer back to him that?
I have no interest in trying to change Magdalene. And he also has like a crazy, like, he's really fiery, like, and gets really angry, the craziest shit. And like, I just have a very different temperament. Like, I just like, like he'll just kind of like lose his shit on a situation, like, and I'll be like, wow, you're really angry about that.
That's one way of dealing with that,
Yeah.
or reacting.
But it's not that it's like a record, right? It's like a record. Like I've had boyfriends and lovers and, girlfriends and whatever that I'm still friends with to this day because I didn't scratch the record, right?
Yeah.
Like I can go put that record album on and listen to it, enjoy it, and have the great memory of being with that person. And then there are other people where you're just like,
I sold that shit to Exile like 10 years ago.
Trade it in or whatever.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I needed a turkey sandwich.
Yeah. So it's just that like 6 years and January 10th we'll be married. And so, and it's, I guess being an artist is very lonely, even when you're with somebody.
I can imagine.
It's a very lonely thing. And you're the only person that knows the most. And we promised each other we wouldn't get in the way of each other's art. And we've been really steadfast to that.
I mean, I saw like, I don't even know, a micro second of that, and was like, I mean, if that's what it takes to make this, then leave it be, right?
Yeah.
Don't poke.
Yeah, don't poke the bear.
Yeah.
Don't scratch the record. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like, even on a day when we're both like really having an issue, not even with each other, we have, we kind of see like the bigger picture. And we've both been married, you know?
Right.
And
there is that.
I think that really kind of put it in perspective. Like,
are you guys close-ish in age?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how old were each of you the first time you got married, roughly?
I was 30.
Okay.
I don't know. He's 11 years older than me.
Okay.
And most of the men that I've dated have been older.
Okay.
Married, older than me. I don't know. I think it's like mental stuff, but I don't think it's like older men are more intelligent or smarter. I just think it's just what I'm attracted to.
Sure.
So, and I mean, how old were we? So I was like 22.
The first time you got married?
Oh, no, I was 30 the first time
that
I got married, but I was 22 when I met Mike.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, you guys have known each other for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So when we got married, it was like, to make like the metaphor, like we knew how it could play out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's go back to the, your 20s, and I'm not trying to speak for the artist. But it's like, oh, you just kind of get kicked out of the high school system and you call it whatever. And then here you are, 23, 24, whatever. And it's like, okay, this is it. This is, and so, okay, college, house, married, kid, this, path. And if you could go spend like 3 hours as a 44-year-old, and just look back and be like, oh no, you don't have to walk down. You can go this way too, and I think a lot of, it's part of life and it's a learning experience, but feeling this like, yeah, we're supposed to get married. It's a thing that you do along this journey.
Yeah.
Like, again, great life and learning experience, but also in some situations, like, you could have skipped that and not,
No, there is no way. I mean, I definitely needed to. I had an amazing marriage.
Okay.
Like, I loved my first husband.
Okay.
It did not.
Yeah, I didn't mean you.
Oh, no. But like, I don't have any regrets.
Good.
And like, I run a lingerie shop. Like, I help.
I saw that. Where is it?
It's at 18th and Wyandotte.
Okay.
I've been the artistic director. Izzy Vivas is the artistic director of the West 18th Street Fashion Show, but I was the artistic director for nearly 2 decades. Like, I'm really loyal to my ideas. Like, there have only been a couple of situations where, like, I really had to like make a difficult decision. And I mean, really, really difficult. Like, I got married. I wanted to get married young because I wanted to have a child and be done with it. And that didn't happen, and that's heartbreaking. And I wanted to, like, I wanted to work on this building in the West Bottoms with my father, but like he got Alzheimer's, and that was devastating,
Damn.
And I wanted to be close to all my sisters, but I haven't spoken to my mother for 28 years, and like I just kind of lost my first sister when I left home. Like it just was such a difficult pairing. My mother and I were not well paired, and so even though I'm like still really close with my stepfather and I really love his wife, like it hasn't been like it's really hard.
Yeah.
And I guess you just have to put so much of it in. And, I look at what's going on. I get, you can't like watch the news and, you can't, like, I grew up in San Francisco on 18th and Castro. Like we lost so many people to AIDS. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And then my dad lived in Project Artaud, which was this kind of like communal creative space. And like so many people died of AIDS there too. And it was just a time of like really experimentation and of how to raise kids and how to eat food. And like if you should or shouldn't do drugs. And I mean, not all the kids that I grew up with came out of it well.
Right.
And it's not like when things are wildy and culty and crazy that they're good, but then you get to the Midwest and you realize that these horrible things are going on behind picket fences too.
Right.
So it's like you have to be really compassionate and empathetic when it comes to living, because you really don't know what's going on.
Right.
And there have been moments where like I've really have had a couple of bouts with like extreme like cancel culture where
You have?
oh yeah and like where like I had somebody like who I had given access to my Instagram and my
Oh no.
break into my email, and like
Oh no.
people have like accused me of things that I literally didn't do. That like literally like by the word little they went into my email and like so it's just
the trusted person that you gave this access to, and then they did something negative intentionally, maliciously.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and now they're working for their like anti-trans gun toting
Jeez.
real estate father. Like it's just it's like you just have to follow your instincts.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just sort of like really dubious of this kid, and then everyone's like, oh, give him a chance, like he's gay and he's in a fundamentalist family, like give him a chance. It's like worst decision I ever made. But like that was a small fish of a mistake.
Sure.
Not like a big salmon. I mean, there are people that, trust the wrong person and that's it.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I mean, it hurts.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And it's like you can be like tough as nails and appear very confident and just seem like you're just like right on, like, along the right path. But I have access to some of the most. I have access to my idols.
Okay.
Right, I really do.
Okay.
Like I have access to my idols, and that doesn't mean I did anything better than somebody else. Like, yeah, I'm not even a degree of separation away from people that I want to know. I'm friends with people who are very, very talented and successful.
Cool.
And that can be so amazing and exhilarating, but also it can be so painful.
I bet.
Right?
Gosh, I imagine that I can't even imagine the ways in which that could play out.
Yeah, and like, I was on a reality TV show, right? So I came in second on that reality television show, and I'm so glad that I did that, because it just really opened up my eyes to so much of what we were talking about earlier about capitalism and about accessibility, kind of again with the Kurt Cobain thing.
Where do you think I got my CDs?
Where do you think I got my music? Where do you think I bought my music?
Yeah, my music. Yeah.
Where do you think I bought my music? And now that's been over 10 years. And I'm meeting people who were like, oh my God, like I watched work of art when I was in high school. Like, I can't believe like I get to talk to you. And it's just television and
do you want to touch me?
Yeah. But it makes, what makes somebody become an idol? It's like, oh, they have a show at the Guggenheim, or they play at Carnegie Hall or the Kennedy Center. And like, or there's like, they have this many viewers, or they have, so they sell this much artwork, or they sell this many albums. Like, I'm married to somebody who's like on a platinum album. Kick ass. Like, I get to hang out with these incredible musicians and watch them be human. I looked up to Ani DeFranco. Like, I hang out with Ani DeFranco. Ani DeFranco is an amazing human being, and like her life and kids are just so incredible. And so it's just like the veil moves. It's like the Wizard of Oz. It's just people.
Right.
People being people.
Right. Well, I really like, in a number of different ways, how you've touched on either directly or indirectly, and to be who you are today, things X, Y, and Z needed to happen, or you're grateful that they did, not that they needed to. But my folks split somewhere between 5 and 7, somewhere in that window. And it was tough. Everything was fine, but It was tough because the only thing I wanted, I couldn't have. And so at some point along, my growth and development.
Did they remarry?
No. Yes. Not each other.
Yeah, but other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quickly or slowly?
I think very quickly.
Very quickly,
and in the same year.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
same.
Well,
fast. Yeah. Let's go.
And strangely, her new husband was immediately transferred to Atlanta, and so we were gone. And my dad was like, kind of heartbroken. Now we were only there for 3 years because that marriage ended as well, and then we came back. But still. So it's like before they get married and they're divorced, like I started wanting that, and then while we're here in Atlanta, I wanted that, and then we come back, and now he's remarried and has got two kids, and at that point I was kind of like, well, I can't really unearth everything that he has going on. Like, I was trying to play detective and matchmaker and wear all these different hats to like, I know you become
really good at you just become really good at navigating back and forth.
Yeah. So I decided at some point that the way to heal that was to, for sure, not, once I'm married with my own kids, to not get a divorce. And then I met somebody and I'm dating somebody, and like just early and often announcing that like I'm going to marry him. And I was like, me, and then we did get married.
Yeah.
And she didn't want kids, and I was like, wait, we got to like hash a few things out before
we get married.
Yeah. And so, strangely, like I one by one talked her and like, pushing in the direction of engagement. I'm like, wait, there's so much to fucking like, for example, and we were like, I'd moved into this split level home by UMKC for grad school, and we were it was one of these, you walk up onto the porch and there's 2 front doors, because this is it's one house that they've cut in half, and so mine has a 1/2 next to the house number, and we're standing. I was like, for example, we haven't even, this is literally we haven't even talked kids, and she's like, yeah, I don't want to have kids, and I was like, this conversation's over, like, yeah. And a number of months later, it's like, we're talking, I don't know, about something completely random. And she's like, okay, one bio, one adopted. And I was like, did you just say that to me? Like, wait, are you bringing the kids? And I was like, no, like
not
I
a
want,
deal.
yeah. And then another handful of months later, I'm like folding laundry or something. She's like, all right, I'll give you 2. And I was like, okay, and then fast forward these years later and we get divorced. And it's like,
Do you
shit.
have kids?
Yeah.
How many?
2.
Oh, they're so cute.
Thank you.
Like they really are.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank God, right?
I know, like,
They're really pretty.
yeah, sprinting to 13. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
she'll be 13
Well, she's beautiful.
in a second.
She looks Russian.
And he just turned 10. But it's for a small handful of years. Like I couldn't even see like how am I gonna chisel away at this darkness that that exists because I failed at this construct in my head and it's finally it's like it's okay.
Forever is a long time.
Yeah,
Forever is a long time.
yeah, and it's like it's okay.
How long have you been divorced?
Since 2021, but we took forever to make it happen. I mean, so we separated in 18.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's like the other side of it is, I mean, they're pretty great.
Yeah, they are great. Look at them. They're super cool people.
And also, I'm like so thankful that I'm not married to her anymore. But
you got kids.
yeah. And
sometimes people are just put together to make another person. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It's been happening since the beginning of time.
I know, but it's like, I couldn't get out of my own way and look at all the things and be like, but everything's fine.
No.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I was like, I think we were together for like 5 years and I was like breaking up with him. When we proposed, I should have just been like, you know what? But then you just get into that same loophole when that you have to get married, I mean, I don't even know. I didn't like, I'm obviously like, I'm a big advocate for choice, but I never wanted to like get married because I was pregnant and I didn't ever want to have an abortion. So it just was like this weird point in my life where I was like, well, like, I don't want to, it was like past the point of spontaneous romance. It was just like, I was just kind of like exhausted because I should have just realized that we wanted different things. And even with then we had great adventures and we went to great places and did things. And it's just when it really came down to the basic, what we both wanted, we wanted really different things. And you can be with somebody for a decade and you can be with somebody your whole life. You look at people that are like these like sad sacks of fucking rice bags that have been like, grinding against the ground their whole life because they're like Catholic and they're going to go to hell if they get a divorce. And you're just like, oh, girl, you're just like drained of life.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny that.
And it does, marriage isn't even like the beginning. Like people that are like just boyfriend and girlfriend, and you're like, come on, man. Like, what are you? Just look like, whatever. You just have lost your form. You've lost your energy. You're just like broken down. Well,
I just, I think you can only arrive at this point by walking the path and living the life. But if there was a way to know in youth that just because things don't go the way you think they're going to go or envision them to go, like things can still be okay.
It's okay. That's what I always tell people because I have a lot of young employees and I have a lot of young friends, and I say, they're like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm like, it is okay. It's okay right now. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah. Well,
and also it's like, it's okay not to be okay.
Right.
Right. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Now, if you cross from one season into another and that hasn't shifted at all, you should maybe consider getting
away from each other, because that's okay too.
Yeah. So I'm very grateful that you gave me a list of records. And if memory serves, folks have kind of tended to fall in three camps. It's like one, is like how it's like choosing my favorite kid, and I'm gonna have to take. It's like okay, dude, you take whatever. And some folks that are like, cool, let me think about it, and then they're like, here you go. So they thought about it for a minute.
Yeah.
And then there's some folks that are like, they've been waiting for somebody to ask them. They're like, here. And it's like, oh shit. And I think you were in the middle.
Yeah.
Like you weren't super quick and you didn't take forever. And that's always, I mean, I love all three camps.
Right.
But it's a cool one. And so if we run through them chronologically in release order, we go back to what Dad was into with Nina Simone. 1965, put out 19 records. 7th of 19.
Wow.
12 tracks, 34 minutes. My ask was for you to tell me about your discovery of her. I now know that Dad, being around Dad, basically. But did he have other out? Was this one in the home, and is that why it's special to you, or is there a different story?
Actually, the one that was in the home and played the most was, and this is one that I like, but it was the Porgy and Bess, the one with Summertime on it.
Okay.
And when my dad was coming to an end, I was walking up the stairs, the Bauer building across from my business, and I heard somebody singing that version of that song, Summertime. And as I walked up the stairs, I thought, oh, that's the person who's going to perform at my father's funeral, right? So I get into the room, and there's this like 6'8", like very decorated harp player.
Harp. Okay.
Singing.
6'8".
Yeah, very, very tall. And maybe not that tall. I always say 6'8" in heels.
Okay.
But I remember thinking, oh, okay, that guy. And I would find out a couple days, maybe a week later, who it was. I just didn't push it. And
it came to you organically who he was?
Calvin Arsenia.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
So we become like deep friends, collaborators. And he is actually who has taken over Greenwood Social Hall.
Why do I know that name?
That's where I lived for 7 years.
Okay.
And hosted a lot of live concerts.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Cool.
And so he moved in this month, and he has a really incredible lineup of musicians. And most of the time, if I'm around and he's doing a concert, he'll play Summertime.
Oh.
Yeah. Like even when my dad couldn't remember how to talk, sometimes he'll like send somebody around to like sing songs to people who have dementia and Alzheimer's, and he would sing those words. He knew those words.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like just a really deep, and it's specifically that version of that song. So that's just kind of this, who knows why, but I love that song, and I love the record, the sound of the record turning, and just like Nina and her very, very rich political career.
Yeah.
Ridiculously
activism,
intelligent
yes,
woman.
Yes.
And like a real like fuck around and find out kind of woman. And I just, like as she grew old, just watching her, and it was like an opportunity for my father to talk about class and racism, and he was my dad was a real activist. So,
okay.
and a really authentic one, like on a personal level, like
Cool.
really helped people out. It wasn't about like, it wasn't performative.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
My grandfather was a Holocaust survivor. So my grandfather was a real, down to earth, what's acceptable and not acceptable kind of human being. And he had 3 kids, and They're all like just really incredible human beings.
Probably because he got that shit in his marrow and his DNA,
Yeah.
and then his offspring
Yeah.
came out with it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was the first grandchild in the family.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, really cool. I got to know my great grandmother.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean on my my grandmother's side, my great grandma Esther. So, yeah, and so it's funny how like whenever I hear that song, I think of him.
Summertime,
Yeah,
which was on the album that he had.
yeah.
And you found this one.
I just like how the one like just when you hear a lot of songs, I like even something like Bob Marley when you're young and like there's all these Bob Marley songs, you don't realize they're all Bob Marley songs. It's like the same with Nina Simone, like all these songs that I would like to like sing along to and listen to, and then I would find out they were like her songs,
okay.
right? Because they were covered by so many people.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, it's like Marvin Gaye,
Yep.
same kind of thing.
Yep.
You're like, you're like getting turned on in the middle of the day by a Marvin Gaye song. It's like, oh yeah, it's Marvin Gaye, right? But like, yeah, just an amazing, like, Prince was such a great songwriter. Everybody like, Sinead O'Connor covering his music, and just, I think, even like, what is it, that Johnny Cash song?
Hurt.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Trent Reznor.
Yeah, Trent Reznor.
That's Johnny's song now.
So amazing. Right?
It is. It
So
really
good.
is.
But I love that I'm married to somebody who just has like such a deep understanding of music, because I'm kind of like a dum-dum when it comes to music. I just like, I sometimes like bad music just like I like bad art. Like, it's not that I like, I kind of, I don't know, like I'm not as, I don't know. Like, I don't put my taste in things on a pedestal.
Okay.
Right.
Good.
I don't think that my taste is better. And I know things that I don't like, but
Sure.
I got no problem with somebody else liking them.
Right.
And I love popular music sometimes because I don't like pop music. I like music that's popular. And I don't always like, I don't like pop art, but I'm always curious why things are popular. I love the idea of popularity when it comes to images and audio, and like, why do a whole lot of people like one thing? So you can say, oh, the machine that is capitalism, or like, oh, marketing, oh, blah, blah, blah. But it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Like, you can put a lot of money behind something. It doesn't mean it's going to work.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the end, you have capitalism, and in the end, you have somebody who has an advantage. But, sometimes it's like, it's the American dream, like the most disadvantaged person. It's just like, Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder are on the same label. I mean, like, what? Like, you don't realize how time is, Anne Frank and like Barbara Walters and Martin Luther King were born the same year. Like, time is crazy.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wild, right?
Holy smokes.
Time is a crazy thing.
Yeah. Well, Tom Segura,
Yeah.
he, in one of his specials, has a bit where he talks about how it's super fun to talk in your best aggressive black guy voice. And I recommend that you try it when you're out in public, and there's jokes that go along with it. But the bit ends with him pulling up. He's getting dropped off, or he's pulling up to the airport to get on a plane, and this huge limo pulls up in front of him, and he thinks it's like a bachelorette party or something like that. And Big Daddy Kane gets out.
Okay.
And he goes, "Sup, Kane?" Like, he didn't even, like, the words came out before, and Big Daddy Kane's
Yeah.
head whipped around, and he was like, "Oh shit!" And then so he did too. Like, it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And it's a hilarious bit.
Like somebody else said it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah.
so eventually he has a podcast with his wife. They had Big Daddy Kane on, and so they, of course, talk about that bit. And at one point, he asks him who he's listening to these days, and this is probably 5 years ago. And one of the artists he listed was Nina Simone. And so when I have a happenstance thing like that, like, I'll add, an album of that artist to my, but that I just like kind of roll on all the time on shuffle. unless I'm feeling like something specific. So I've had some Nina Simone in my stuff, but I've never intentionally sat down and listened to a record until now. And so I'm super grateful that it was on your list.
Did you ever listen to, there's this great song. It's Bobby Gentry. Listen to a Bobby Gentry album sometime. Put that on your list. There's one song in particular, Fancy, that's just like so well written.
That's Bobbie, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
It's a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that great stuff, great starter, and we take a big leap from 1965 all the way to 1988. Trinity Sessions.
Is that when
Trinity
it was?
Session.
1988?
Cowboy
oh
Junkies.
God.
This is 2 of 20 for them, including one from this year, which I didn't know that they had been just continuing to crank them out. 12 tracks, 52 minutes. I've always loved this record.
It's amazing.
Because as a young whatever, I was like, I'm at some point going to kiss Margot Timmons on the mouth, and she's going to enjoy it. And I really, Sweet Jane I would go to it over and over again.
Such a great song.
Until I could feel burnout coming. And so then I kind of.
And then you watched Natural Born Killers.
No, and then I relaxed and like took in the rest of the record.
Yeah.
And it's almost always kind of dripped like homesick or sadness onto me, and yet I don't turn away from it.
Well, there's also like, it's got a bit of that Lucinda Williams feel to it too, where you're just like, there are some songs where, it hurts like that too. And anything really by Elliott Smith, where like, it just sort of grinds you to the dirt, right? It smells like petrichor. It smells like you can taste the music, right?
Petrichor is like it's gonna rain.
Yeah,
it smells like rain, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what that?
Yeah.
Okay, great word.
It's one of my. It's the most. I read a couple months ago that it's the most. It's the thing that our species is the most sensitive to.
What?
Yeah,
the smell of rain.
That ionic smell, the rain in the air, is our species. We are so sensitive to that smell. It doesn't matter where in the world. Yeah.
I thought it would be a Mexican place that's frying chips in the morning before they open.
Petrichor.
No. Cool. So, what was your discovery of this one?
I remember. It's usually for me, like I hear a couple of songs and people are like, oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, that's so-and-so. And then I go and get the album.
Yeah,
right?
It starts coming up and you're like, all right, I gotta do something.
Yeah. And then when I really made a point of like listening to the whole thing together, right? And it's just one of those albums that needs to be listened to from the beginning to the end.
For sure. And there's something, I'm not a person that knows these things, but there's something about the mix or the production level that just really give it this vibe.
It was in a church. It was recorded in a church. That's why it's called the Trinity Session. The whole thing was recorded in a church.
Okay.
Yeah, which I've got a bilateral lisp. It's hard for me to say church. And my husband also has this fucking lisp. Sorry, I keep saying bad words, but it's hard for me to say CH and SH with vowels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So church.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that, but it has always felt like you could assemble the best teams of engineers and sound and mix, and they wouldn't be able to quite get that sound.
Right.
Very cool. Have you, beyond this one, kept up to speed with them or?
Not really.
Okay, me either.
Not awful?
No. I mean,
there's like this book by Catherine Dunn. It's called Geek Love. It's one of my favorite books, right? Like I love epic tales of wild situations like Gabriel Garcia Marquez, like stuff like just give me a book that's like compounded with visual stuff, like whatever. Like I'll read my Malcolm Gladwell and like I'll read my stuff about, the man who's thought his wife was a hat. Like I love brain stuff, but like I just have like I will listen to the same album over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And like I had a her name's Hadley Clark now, but I had a studio partner once who was the same. We had listened to the same song over and over again. Like it's like I think some people just to really learn a song, it's like you just have to. Especially if you're not that, I can't learn languages easily. Like it's hard. Either like my sister, like friends who can just like learn one language and learn the next language. It's just. My brain's not. I'm working on that, right? I'm working on that part of my brain.
Sure.
So for
when you
me,
meet somebody that's like, it's Spanish and then French and then German and now I'm Mandarin, it's like, what?
Cool. I can draw you a squid. Would you like a drawing of a squid?
I actually got a little vial of squid ink too.
I don't even need to look at a squid to draw it. I can just draw you a squid. That's how I feel about that. Like,
right.
Wait, what can you draw though? I mean,
right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Well, moving on to another one that came up earlier, and we jumped from 88 to 96 with The Score by the Fugees.
Oh, this one.
Second of 2 for them, 13 tracks, 60 minutes.
And I have, followed their videos are beautiful. And I have kind of kept track of I guess never have loved an album as much as this one. I have such a great memory of it.
Well, I discovered their first album, Blunted on Reality, I think it's called.
I've listened to that.
Way after. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good too. It's weird that it 0 blips on the radar and then this thing just
boom. It was that summer. You remember? I mean, it was the summer. It was the summer of 1996.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't walk into a restaurant and oh my God, Ready or Not?
Oh man.
Yeah. It's stuck in the folds of the convolutions of my brain. Yeah. But yeah, I remember it was Kansas City. I was making it. as an artist. By 98, I was in 5 major museums. So everything that I made.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. I was just like, oh, my God.
Now, 98 would be when Miseducation of Lauryn Hill comes out.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But more special for you this than that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
This is it. Because I think it's what I was listening to when I was figuring it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the music that helped me get to point B. And I don't know. I feel like I learned something from it.
Right.
And it was very subtle.
Yeah. Well, and maybe indescribable or nameless.
Yeah.
In a sense, but you still, it's like a trinket, and it goes in your backpack of life, and you know it's there, and you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I remember just hanging out with Christine. She was living in this apartment that was used to be a brothel on Oak. They had Murray beds, and it was a brothel. The house was from the 1800s and timbered ceiling, hallway. Yeah.
The bed that is a closet, and you just
Don't
slap it down and do
put
your
it back
thing.
up. Yeah. And so
I was going to change those sheets.
Hold on.
Too late.
No need. It'll cost you.
Right.
But yeah, I just remember listening to that and her smoking weed, me not really smoking weed, and just they had gigs at Le Fou Frog. My friend Bo at Bledsoe and I were just I was making their posters, learning to make posters regularly, finding out gigs.
Cool.
And just
there was a gig, or there used to be gigs at Le Fou Frog.
Yeah. Can
really?
you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine the insanity? If you can imagine the insanity of a gig at Le Fou Frog, then you can pretty much survive everything. I think Christine was fired 6 times from her gig. Right?
I mean, I just
in front of everybody.
Right. I
Yeah.
just wrapped up a 10-year career selling groceries and whatnot to restaurants and hotels and schools.
Oh, you should you should have an entire podcast dedicated to mono.
Well,
And Le Fou
right.
Frog.
And
She's a
so,
whole one.
so
Hilarious.
When I'm back in Kansas City in 2000 and the guy that's my rep
Yeah.
at the restaurant I'm chefing, and he had that account back then and had literally a hot skillet or a hot
Grown.
pot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out. And
Water on the brain. That's what I've been told. Water on the brain.
that
He
me-
has mono.
that means that there's something not firing correct. Was that?
I don't know. I mean, I know them. I mean, their family and their kids, and just like, it's such a, yeah, it's wild times. Yeah. I mean, Christine would just, I ate a lot of mussels and cream sauce that summer.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
From 96 to 2004, Animal Serenade, Lou Reed. I had not ever even heard of this one. And it's a live album. So are you a Velvet Underground fan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the studio stuff that Lou Reed put out, fan of that as well.
Yes, sir.
And then what is, if you like those two bodies of work, what is it about this live record that
I guess I like live recording.
Okay.
I mean, I'm seeing a pattern here. I guess I like live recordings because there's a continuum. You know, I mean, like there's like that 10,000 Maniacs record that I like too. That's a live recording.
Unplugged one?
Yeah,
Okay.
that one.
Okay.
I like that one too.
Sure.
So maybe I just like the background breathing and the stuff that you can't totally eliminate, like that palimpsest, right? Those layers that you can probably get a better read on a room now than you could then. Who knows? I don't know.
Sure.
I think
Well,
there's, whatever.
There's a very, I think, intentional storytelling feel to the way that this one starts.
Yeah.
And kind of.
Yeah, I used to have Linger On tattooed on my fingers, but they literally knowing that, I hate that I keep saying literally. I'm so sorry. Please take that out. Yeah, I had Linger On tattooed on my fingers, knowing it would fade. Yeah, Candy says,
If one tattoos one's fingers, it eventually goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, their only thing left is the O, and not even fully. Yes,
Huh.
Linge. Yeah, Linger On. Yeah, it's like I had them on my fingertips.
Now, that's like a tongue-in-cheek gesture, right? Linger on,
Yeah.
and eventually it's gone.
Yeah.
Wow. How old were you when you had the insight to...
That was 2017.
Okay.
2016,
Right on.
2017. Yeah.
Well, that one was very enjoyable too, and we take a smaller, well, it's still a decent leap. Gosh, I didn't write. Yeah, I did. To 2016.
Yay!
Functioning Broke, Mike Dillon,
My baby.
12 tracks, 34 minutes. So I'm going to try and be as brief as I can here.
Okay.
2 episodes ago, I had the daughter of a former friend come in from St. Louis to do an episode.
Okay.
And we hadn't seen each other in like 20 years. She's been through a lot of stuff. And a lifetime ago, when I was friends with her father, we used to smoke a lot of weed and play video game hockey.
Okay.
And listen to music.
Why aren't you friends anymore? Okay.
How much time you got?
I don't know.
And I came over at one point, and he was like, "You gotta listen to this."
Mm-hmm.
And he handed me a copy of Les Claypool's "Fearless Flying Frog Brigade," and it's 2-disc live performance covering. I think it's 2. Maybe it's only 1 disc. One of the if it's 2 discs, then only one of the discs is Pink Floyd "Animals" in its entirety. And I was like, well, all right, whatever. Like, what's this band covering? And I
Pink
went
Floyd,
home and I was like,
yeah.
and I was like, holy shit, that is super, super fucking good.
Yeah.
2 episodes before her, a girl, service industry, 20 years ago. It's been a long time since we had seen one another. She comes on and just mentions Oh, they were just flying for. They were just here. You didn't go? I was like, I didn't even know. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then whenever we start talking, I'm like, wait a minute, what in the actual fuck is happening right now? Like, this is really, and then to cap it all off, the new letters thing, I was like, all right, man, there's a whole lot of, anyway.
Connectivity.
Yes.
This is, it's not a braggadocious thing. This is just like a very common thing. Like, this is a common thing. Like,
in your life, in your world?
I think if you're just if you're in a state of always trying to garner things to connect, then things are just going to connect.
Okay. Interesting. And should one try to garner things to connect, or just it doesn't matter?
It's kind of my job.
Okay. Back to the friends and
glue.
Yeah.
Electric glue. Yeah.
So I say all that to say that for no reason whatsoever, when I discovered that this Mike Dillon character, I was like, I bet all of his shit is heavy and hard.
Flower.
And
He's a
I
flower.
put this on, and I'm like, did I? What?
Did I press the right button?
Yes, I swear to God.
Yeah.
And I was like, surely. Yeah. This is some kind of like we're gonna zig right after you think we're zagging, and track 2 is gonna pivot, or something that's not. And then I was just like, oh wow, this is wonderful. And so tell me. I mean, you've obviously heard a bunch of.
I listened to it over and over again. He had asked me if I had time to do the record cover, and I sent something, but I didn't have a lot of time. Like, he ended up using that image for something else.
Oh.
But he sent me the album to listen to, right? These Elliott Smith songs and some of his own songs. And I always think about Mike Dillon as like, that, because I also have a subscription to the New Yorker.
Okay.
Because of my stepfather.
Okay.
It's like something we do. Like, it's a thing. I grew up with the New Yorker in my house, and my grandmother's house, and my stepfather's house. And so that and Bizarro, right? Or like also like the 2 polar bears, and the polar bears, like, I love these things. They're really crunchy on the outside and squishy on the inside.
Is it a person?
That's my husband.
Oh.
That's Mike Dillon.
Okay.
So he's just like, it wasn't until this album came to fruition where I realized, like, wow, this person has this really gentle, interesting side to them. And when we're traveling from Kansas City to New Orleans, there is a limit on Elliott Smith, because I will get just so depressed.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, and be like, okay, it's been Elliott Smith for 2 hours. Like, I need an Elliott Smith.
It's about an hour and a half too long.
Yeah, you can get really blue.
Yeah.
You can get really sad, and then it's like on to the Queens of the Stone Age. So
okay.
That's cool.
I think, would you please hold up that printout for the camera? I don't think I even said it. Functioning Broke.
Mike
Dillon.
Yeah.
2016.
2016. And definitely a really, and these are him mallets, playing mallets.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted to have like one of those sort of like old tiki covers, like those. Like, I know the aesthetic that he was going for is pretty cool, like velvety, right? And those are like, he has like very beautiful, considered tattoos, like lots of like Indian gods and different things. And my favorite animal is an elephant, so I always loved some of the things that he has on him. And yeah, it's a very soft and complicated album.
Yeah.
And I was at the end of like what I thought my life was going to be. I think it really spoke to me. Like, I'm just thinking about it now, and even the idea of the dichotomy of functioning broke. Like, I was broken but I was functioning. I was broken and I was functioning, and I was listening to this album, and I had a very like difficult and volatile relationship in between.
I'm sorry.
Me too. And like, yeah, definitely one of those humbling ones where you're like, oh, this is why people go back. And I was listening to this album, and then he was politely checking on me, and his, he was engaged and that was falling apart. And I was divorced, and whatever I was in was perpetually falling apart. I was falling apart. I was falling to pieces. And maybe we got married quickly because we just knew each other so well.
And then one day, she was there.
Yeah. He was right next to me. I remember my friend Margaret had like recommended this therapist. It's like somebody in Colorado who was her therapist, and it was like a phone call, and there was like tapping and all these things, and it was like
EMDR.
EMDR. And I made I was supposed to make a list of what I wanted in a partner moving forward.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I was supposed to keep the list on me and tell this person what I wanted. Right. So I made the list, and they said that was not the same person, that was going to be one person, that wasn't a person, right. And then when he came to town, he opened up, and I was like, you're staying in the guest room, like none of this fun, whatever. And he opened up the door, and it was raining, and it was like this, he was kind of like covered in sparkles, and because of the rain, it was like he had some of his gear and stuff like that. And I had been listening to the album and not even thinking anything of the list. And then he walked in, and I was like, oh, shit. There's the list.
In the flesh and blood.
There it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I finished listening to this, I was like, I think that was like a blanket for me, and I would like to have it just wherever I go, just in case.
Yeah.
Most days I probably won't need it, but I still want to know it's there.
Yeah, it was like that. It was comforting.
I was blown away.
Yeah. It made me very, it's not a peaceful album.
It's not?
It's more, it is maybe, well,
how about soothing?
It's soothing.
Okay.
It's sad and soothing.
Okay.
And it soothed me. And yeah, I didn't know. So
Me either.
I didn't know.
So thank you again for not only being here, but for giving me such a cool list. I have one closing segment I call 5 Funny Finishers, and it's just goofy questions.
Ready.
But I thought if you would please run through all the deets on your show that closes on the 23rd one more time, so that in case somebody missed it in the beginning.
Yeah, so it's kind of a twofold. It's like I would go on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because Blue Gallery is open, and it's like, I think it's like 10 to 4, 11 to 4, something like that. And then Studio Sync. So it's Blue Gallery and Studio Sync. And I know that this will come out after the 16th, but I have Jose Faust and Hadara Barnavar reading, and Mike's going to be performing with them at noon. So I will have a recording that I will give you that recording, so you can sort of pull from it.
Okay, cool.
Like I've Chad Mice is helping me.
Hey, I went to high school with him.
Oh, he's amazing.
He sat behind me in chemistry class.
No way.
Freshman science class.
You have to interview him.
We've communicated.
Oh, he's amazing.
And then
best stories in Kansas City.
And then his dad, his dad's band used to gig every Thursday night at the restaurant that I chefed for like 8 years.
No way.
And then Hadara was she and Christy Hodgins were both they were coming in as potential UMKC professors as my program was ending. And so we, as, seniors in this 2-year program, got to like do roundtable.
Wow.
Not that we were like interviewing.
Yeah, but you got to see the process.
And then, we could leave feedback with the people that.
Well, you should come to that on the 16th if you're free. It's an hour.
Saturday the 16th?
Yeah.
Noon. It's at noon.
1708 Campbell.
1708 Campbell.
If you can.
And how it only goes till 1?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to go long.
Right.
Like, I want it to be short and sweet.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have your kids?
I do. We have tutoring, and then I was asked Monday morning when we woke up, is it on your radar that we're getting a tree on Saturday? Yes.
You can get a tree downtown.
I'm
just saying. And I don't think that it's going to be, it's not like either of them are, I don't know. I don't think you should exploit your children, but I think it's important to expose children to things.
Absolutely. If it could, and then
maybe
at 1:30 is our transition time, and so I got to hand them off to.
Okay,
their
so
mom.
no.
But if it works, we'll for sure.
Yeah.
Did we cover all the pieces to the show?
Yeah. I mean, you can go to my website, which is actually probably updated since you last looked at it.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I worked on it for about 4 months, so it's pretty new.
Okay.
And that's got a lot of the information about the work. If you're listening to this in Dubai. So yeah, that's covered, and I'm hoping to start be a part of this landfill legacy project. So that's just like such a beginning of some things. So.
And your IG is a way for folks to sort of keep in the and
Peregrine Honig.
That was
Peregrine Honig.
way better.
Good.
Okay, 5 funny finishers, and we'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
Let's imagine. We're imagining.
Okay, I love imagining.
You have created your bucket list. Okay, and then someone appears and provides you with all of the resources to do your top 3 things on that list, and your top 3 is your legit top 3. What are you doing first?
Get pregnant.
That is a fantastic answer. Okay. You get to have lunch with anyone of your choosing, dead or alive. Who and why?
I think it would be Josephine Baker.
Writer, artist? Why do I know that name?
Yes.
Okay.
I know there's people that would probably be more like academically or whatever. She just seemed like such a person that you could sit down across the table from and who would tell you great stories and you would have a really good time with.
I wouldn't have seen her name in one of those new letters, would I have?
No.
I didn't think so. It's like I can see it somewhere.
She had a really great sense of humor about her sexuality and performing. She's her iconic images of her in a banana skirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she kind of took vaudeville and played around, had a good, very transparent sense of humor.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. You're given the gift to visit your past self at any age of your choosing. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
I guess at any point that it's probably maybe 12,
Okay.
and that like, you'll get more comfortable with loneliness.
Wow. Loneliness was a heavy thing at 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like not in a martyr way. Yeah, just
Not taken as such.
I guess some people not lonely like being alone, because you can be surrounded by people and be lonely.
I hear you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I guess that just because there's people that are drawn to you and want to know you, that's that loneliness is real.
Yeah. Complete this for me, please.
Okay.
The world would become an immediately better place in which to live, if only.
The world would become a better place to live if only theology wasn't used as a weapon.
Oh, man. Whew. Okay. I mean, amen.
Amen.
And I mean that.
Yeah.
A little while ago, you mentioned reality TV.
Yeah.
I trust that you remember the show Fear Factor.
I do.
Okay. What would be the absolute worst Fear Factor situation for Peregrine Honig to be exposed to or a part of?
What would be my worst like Fear Factor situation? I feel like whatever I answer, there's just going to be something worse that I'm going to think of later.
My answer is all that shit. Fuck all of it. I don't care if it's one spider or a box of spiders.
See, I don't have an issue with like snakes or spiders or any. Now, see, I see people that do, and but none of that stuff really freaked me out.
Okay.
I'm not like, I don't get like overloaded about like sensory stuff.
How about
yeah, give me more.
Kill Bill? Have you seen this?
I have.
Okay. Uma Thurman, again,
Amazing.
strangely, gets chloroformed or whatever and then buried alive.
That was upsetting.
I don't care what the technique is. As soon
What
as
is it that I just learned about? It's like there's a term, and it was so many people were buried alive that there's a term about the bell. There, you have to look it up. Can you look it up? It's like look up buried alive bell, because there's a very common slogan that people say, and I just recently learned that it's based on people ringing a bell, and I thought it had some kind of quaint soft thing, but there were these inventions that people would have. So if they woke up in their coffin,
fucking shit. I can't believe you made me Google this.
read it. What is it? What's the slogan?
Joanne Gottfried Taberger created a bell system for coffins in 1892. Strings were attached to the body's the body's head, hands, and feet, and were connected to a bell perched above ground. And a cemetery watchman would be alerted if the bell rang. Fuck.
But wait. There's a slogan. Put slogan in there. Don't get nervous. Like, they can check your vitals a lot better now than they used to be able to.
Stop putting bells on graves.
No, but put in like slogan.
Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell.
Like a TV show.
Yes.
Whatever those
Yeah.
kids.
Saved by the Bell. It's not the sitcom or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's Saved by the Bell is a term that was used in the context of people's lives being saved because they rang the bell that was connected to the string that was in their coffin. Saved by the Bell. Wild.
Throw open my mouth.
My God.
Thank you so much
Yes,
for being
you're welcome.
here.
Saved by the Bell.
It's peregrinehonig.com and on Instagram.
Peregrine Honig. Guess my name. That's like the one thing. I got it for my birthday, my name. Like nobody's,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So thank you for having me.
I wish you the best. Thanks for being here.
I wish you the best too.
Bye.
Bye. Saved by the bell.